The Seattle skyline glittered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of their penthouse, casting a soft glow on Emily as she stood before the mirror. Her auburn hair cascaded in perfect waves, her new emerald dress clinging to her curves, and the click of her heels echoed with purpose. Michael watched from the doorway, his heart sinking like a stone. She wasn't dressing for him. The faint scent of a stranger's perfume lingered, and the truth hit like a freight train. She was preparing for someone else. After 18 years of marriage, the woman he loved, the mother of their daughter Lily, was slipping away. Michael, 45, was no stranger to hard work. As a senior software engineer at a bustling tech firm, he'd built a comfortable life for his family. Their home was a sanctuary, filled with laughter, movie nights, and Lily's chatter about college. Emily, 40, had always been his anchor, loving, attentive, the kind of wife who'd leave sweet notes in his lunch or steal a kiss before he left for work. But lately, something had shifted. Her late-night meetings, her distracted glances, the way she'd hide her phone when he entered the room, it all gnawed at him. It started at the company gala a month ago. Emily, a high-flying executive assistant at a sleek downtown startup, had insisted he attend. The event was a blur of champagne flutes and corporate egos, but one moment stood out. Victor Langston, her CEO, had his eyes locked on Emily. His tailored suit screamed wealth, his smile oozed charm, and his hand lingered too long on her arm as they danced. Michael, standing awkwardly by the bar, felt a sting of unease. Victor's smirk as he glanced at Michael after the dance felt like a challenge. "Nice to see you, Mike," he'd said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Still coding away in the trenches?" Emily laughed it off, but the jab landed hard. That night, Michael brought it up. "What's with Victor? He was all over you." Emily's eyes flashed with irritation. "You're overreacting, Michael. He's my boss, not some creep. It's just business." Her defensiveness only deepened his suspicions. Over the next few weeks, every late-night meeting, every client lunch became a red flag. Emily's warmth felt rehearsed, her kisses hollow. Then, last night, he saw it, a text that lit up her phone as she slept. "Tonight, my place? V." His stomach churned. Victor, the man who had everything, money, power, a trophy wife half his age, was after his wife. Michael's mind raced. Was he paranoid? Their marriage had weathered storms, late nights at work, Lily's rebellious teenage years, but infidelity? It seemed impossible. Yet, the signs were undeniable. The new dresses, the secretive calls, the way Emily's eyes lit up when she mentioned Victor's name. He couldn't ignore it anymore. He needed proof, not just for himself, but to protect Lily, their 17-year-old daughter who adored her mother. If Emily was betraying him, he'd make sure the truth came to light without losing control. The next morning, Michael sat at his desk, staring at lines of code that blurred into nonsense. His thoughts were consumed by Emily's betrayal. He couldn't confront her without evidence. She'd deny everything, just like she did after the gala. He needed a plan, something calculated, something that would leave no room for lies. By noon, he'd ordered discreet surveillance equipment, tiny cameras no bigger than a button, audio recorders that could hide in plain sight. He'd turned their home into his truth detector. That evening, Emily was her usual self, cooking dinner while humming softly. "You okay, hon?" she asked, her voice warm as she stirred pasta sauce. Michael forced a smile, his heart heavy. "Just tired. Big project at work." She crossed the room, wrapping her arms around him. "You work too hard," she murmured, kissing his cheek. Her touch, once his safe harbor, now felt like a lie. As she turned back to the stove, he noticed her phone buzz on the counter. He glanced at the screen, a new message from Victor, "Can't wait for tomorrow." Michael's blood ran cold. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he mapped out his plan. He'd stage a business trip, leaving for 2 days to give Emily the space to act. If she was cheating, he'd catch her. If not, he'd bury his suspicions and never speak of them again. The thought of being wrong gave him a flicker of hope, but deep down, he knew the truth was coming and it would break him. By dawn, Michael was wiring their home. A camera in the smoke detector above their bed, another in the living room lamp, a third in the kitchen clock. Audio recorders slipped into her purse, her car, even the phone stand she used every night. Everything synced to a secure cloud he could access from his laptop. He tested the system, watching live feeds of their empty home, the silence deafening. "This is crazy," he muttered, but the image of Victor's smirk pushed him forward. At breakfast, he broke the news. "Got a last-minute trip to Portland for a client meeting. Leaving tomorrow, back Wednesday." Emily's face fell, but was it genuine? "Oh, babe, I hate when you're gone," she said, squeezing his hand. Her eyes sparkled with what looked like love, but Michael couldn't trust it. "I'll miss you too," he lied, his voice steady. As he kissed her goodbye, he wondered if this was the last time he'd feel her lips without disgust. The next day, Michael drove 3 hours to a Portland hotel, his laptop open on the passenger seat. He checked into a nondescript room, his pulse racing as he logged into the surveillance feed. The house was quiet, Emily at work. He waited, refreshing the screen, his mind replaying every moment of their marriage. Had he missed the signs all along? The late nights, the new perfume, the way she'd started locking her phone. He hated himself for doubting her, but he hated her more for making him. At 7 p.m., the feed flickered. Emily walked into their bedroom, her phone pressed to her ear. Michael turned up the volume, his heart pounding. "He's gone," she said, her voice low, almost giddy. "The house is ours tonight. When can you come?" A pause, then a laugh. "Perfect. I can't wait to wake up next to you, Victor." The words hit Michael like a punch. He froze, staring at the screen as Emily hung up, her smile radiant. She was his Emily, loving, vibrant, but she was giving that love to another man. For the next hour, Michael watched, unable to look away. Emily showered, slipped into a silky dress, and styled her hair with care she hadn't shown for him in months. Every move was deliberate, every glance in the mirror a betrayal. When the doorbell rang, Michael's breath caught. The camera in the entryway showed Victor, all confidence and charm, pulling Emily into a deep kiss. "You look incredible," Victor said, his voice smooth as whiskey. "I can't wait to have you all night." Michael's vision blurred with rage and heartbreak. He slammed the laptop shut, his hands shaking. This was no fling, it was love, or something close enough to destroy him. He sat in the hotel room, the weight of betrayal crushing him. Emily's whispers, her laughter, her touch, all the things he cherished, belonged to Victor now. But Michael wasn't done. He'd caught them, and he'd make sure they paid. Not with violence, but with truth. He reopened the laptop, saved the footage, and began planning his next move. Tomorrow, he'd return home. Tomorrow, they'd face him. And tomorrow, everything would change. Michael sat in the dim hotel room, the glow of his laptop casting harsh shadows across his face. The Portland rain pattered against the window, a relentless drumbeat mirroring his racing pulse. The surveillance feed was still open, frozen on the image of Emily in Victor's arms, their kiss a knife twisting in his chest. He'd caught them, but it wasn't enough. He needed more, every word, every glance, every damning moment, to ensure they couldn't lie their way out. 18 years of love, trust, and shared dreams had been shattered in a single night, and Michael wasn't about to let it go unanswered. His plan, meticulous and calculated, was already in motion. He reopened the feed, forcing himself to watch as Emily led Victor into their living room. The cameras, hidden in the clock, the lamp, the smoke detector, captured every angle with ruthless clarity. Emily laughed at something Victor said, her voice lighter than it had been with Michael in months. "You're terrible," she teased, swatting his arm playfully. Victor grinned, pulling her close. "And you love it," he replied, his tone dripping with arrogance. Michael's jaw tightened. This wasn't just an affair, it was a performance, a mockery of everything he'd built with her. The audio recorder in Emily's purse, synced to his cloud, picked up their conversation as they moved to the kitchen. "He's gone for 2 days, Emily said, pouring wine. "We don't have to rush." Victor leaned against the counter, his expensive watch glinting under the lights. "Good. I want every second with you." Michael's stomach churned as Emily smiled, her eyes sparkling with a warmth she used to reserve for him. "I've missed this," she said softly. "With you, it's different. Alive." Michael muted the feed, unable to stomach more. Her words cut deeper than any physical betrayal. She wasn't just cheating, she was giving Victor the love she'd promised him. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. The man staring back at him from the laptop wasn't the confident engineer who'd kissed Emily goodbye that morning. He was a stranger, consumed by rage and heartbreak. But he wouldn't let it break him. He'd spent years solving complex problems at work, untangling code, anticipating bugs before they crashed systems. This was no different. Emily and Victor were the bug, and he'd exposed them with precision. Michael replayed the footage, saving every clip to an encrypted folder. He labeled them meticulously: entryway _kiss _19:03, kitchen _conversation _19:15, living _room _19:30. The audio was even more damning. A snippet from Emily's purse recorder caught Victor's voice. "Does Michael ever suspect anything?" Emily's laugh was sharp, dismissive. "He's too busy with his code. He trusts me." Michael's fists clenched. Trust. The word burned. He trusted her with his life, his heart, his daughter. And she'd thrown it away for a man who saw her as another conquest. He opened a new tab, drafting an email to his lawyer. No names yet, just a vague request for advice on personal matters. He'd need legal backup when the time came, but first, he wanted more evidence. One night's footage was enough to confirm the affair, but he needed to know how deep it ran. Was this a fling, or had Emily been lying for months? He checked the phone tracker he'd installed, a discreet app buried in her device. It showed her movements, work, home, a coffee shop she'd never mentioned. Tomorrow, he'd dig deeper. The next morning, Michael woke to a notification from the surveillance system. Emily was up, moving through their home as if nothing had happened. She hummed while making coffee, her hair still tousled from the night before. Victor was gone, but the cameras caught her texting him, a smile playing on her lips. Michael opened the synced messages, his heart pounding. "Last night was perfect," she wrote. "When can I see you again?" Victor's reply came instantly, "Soon, darling." "I'm hooked." Michael's vision blurred with anger. "Darling." The word she used to whisper to him, now stolen by a man who didn't deserve her. He spent the day monitoring her, his work forgotten. Emily went to the office, her phone pinging with Victor's messages. "Lunch?" he texted at noon. She replied with a heart emoji. Michael checked the coffee shop's location history. She'd been there with Victor 3 times that week. He cross-referenced it with the audio from her car recorder. A clip from 2 days ago revealed her voice, soft and conspiratorial. "I told Michael it's a client meeting. He never asks questions." Victor's laugh crackled through the speaker. "You've got him wrapped around your finger." Michael slammed his fist on the desk, the pain grounding him. They were playing him for a fool. By evening, he gathered enough. Hours of footage, dozens of messages, snippets of conversations that painted a clear picture. Emily and Victor had been meeting for at least 3 months, their affair a carefully orchestrated secret. The worst was a recorded call from the previous week, Emily's voice trembling with emotion. "I love how you make me feel, Victor. Like I'm the only one in the world." Michael stopped the playback, his chest tight. Those words were his from their wedding vows when she'd promised to love him forever. Now they belonged to a man who'd leave her the moment his wife noticed. Michael's plan crystallized. He wouldn't confront them yet, not until he could ensure they'd face consequences. He booked a return trip for the next morning, telling Emily he'd be back by noon. "Miss you already," she texted, the lie so seamless it made his skin crawl. He didn't respond. Instead, he uploaded the footage to a second encrypted cloud, sent a copy to a trusted friend with instructions to hold it, and prepared a dossier for his lawyer. If Emily or Victor tried to twist the narrative, he'd have every angle covered. That night, he barely slept. Images of Emily's smile, Victor's smug face, their tangled lies kept him awake. He thought of Lily, oblivious to her mother's betrayal, studying for her finals across town. How would he tell her? Could he shield her from the fallout? The thought of losing their family tore at him, but the thought of letting Emily and Victor walk away unscathed was worse. He wasn't a violent man, years of coding had taught him patience, precision, but he wanted them to feel the weight of their choices. As dawn broke, Michael packed his bag, his resolve hardening. He'd confront them, but not with fists or weapons. His weapon was the truth, captured in high definition, ready to unravel their lives. He drove back to Seattle, the road stretching endlessly before him. Every mile brought him closer to the moment he dreaded and craved. Emily thought she'd played him, but she'd underestimated him. Victor thought he was untouchable, but he'd soon learn otherwise. Michael gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. The trap was set, and tonight they'd walk right into it. Michael's car rolled silently into the Seattle suburbs, the city lights fading behind him. His heart pounded as he parked a block from their penthouse, his phone buzzing with a new alert from the surveillance system. The live feed showed Victor's sleek black Tesla pulling into their driveway. Emily opened the door, her smile radiant as she pulled him inside, their embrace captured in stark clarity by the hidden camera. Michael's grip tightened on his phone. This was it, the moment he'd been planning for. He wouldn't let rage consume him, but he'd make sure they faced the truth. He slipped out of the car, pulling up the hood of his jacket to blend into the evening shadows. The electric bike he'd stashed in the trunk hummed quietly as he rode to the back of the house, avoiding streetlights. The rear sliding door, left unlocked as part of his plan, slid open without a sound. Inside, the house was quiet except for the faint murmur of voices from upstairs. Michael's pulse roared in his ears as he moved through the familiar space, now tainted by betrayal. He clutched his phone, the surveillance app open, ready to play the evidence that would unravel their lies. Upstairs, the bedroom door was ajar, candlelight flickering within. Michael paused, steadying his breath. He could hear Emily's laugh, soft and intimate, followed by Victor's low voice. "You're all mine tonight," Victor said, his tone smug. Michael's stomach twisted, but he kept his focus. He wasn't here to fight, he was here to expose. He opened the app, queuing up the damning audio from last night. Emily's voice, clear and unmistakable, saying, "I love how you make me feel, Victor. Like I'm the only one in the world." He set the volume to maximum and hit play. The sound filled the room, echoing off the walls. Emily gasped, her silhouette freezing in the doorway. Victor's head snapped toward the sound, his confident smirk vanishing. Michael stepped into the light, phone in hand, his face a mask of controlled fury. "Explain this, Emily," he said, his voice low but sharp enough to cut through the silence. The audio looped, her words repeating, "I love how you make me feel." Emily's eyes widened, her face paling. "Michael, you're supposed to be in Portland," she stammered, clutching the sheet to her chest. Victor scrambled to his feet, his shirt half unbuttoned, his bravado crumbling. "What the hell is this?" he demanded, but his voice wavered. Michael held up the phone, switching to the live feed from the entryway camera showing their earlier kiss. "This," he said, "is every moment you thought I wouldn't see. Every lie, every secret, every time you mocked me." He tapped the screen and the kitchen audio played. Emily's voice, "He's too busy with his code. He trusts me." Victor's laugh followed, "You've got him wrapped around your finger." Emily's hands trembled, tears welling in her eyes. "Michael, please, let me explain," she started, but he cut her off. "Explain what?" "How you gave him the words you promised me. How you brought him into our home, our bed." His voice cracked, betraying the pain beneath his anger. Victor stepped forward, trying to regain control. "You're out of line, Michael. You think you can barge in here and threaten us?" Michael's gaze locked onto him, cold and unyielding. "Threaten? No, Victor. I'm showing you the consequences." He opened a folder on his phone, revealing thumbnails of dozens of clips, dates, times, locations, all meticulously labeled. "I have hours of this," Michael said. "Your kisses, your whispers, your plans. I've got text messages, call logs, even your little coffee shop dates. One click and this goes to your wife, Victor. To your board of directors. To every client who thinks you're a man of integrity." Victor's jaw clenched, his fists balling, but he stayed silent, the weight of his exposure sinking in. Emily sank onto the bed, sobbing. "Michael, I didn't mean for this to happen. It was a mistake. I love you, I swear." Michael shook his head, his voice steady but laced with pain. "You don't get to say that anymore. Not after you gave him what was ours. You said he makes you feel alive. What am I, Emily? Just the guy who pays the bills?" Her sobs grew louder, but they couldn't drown out the truth. Victor, now pacing, tried to interject. "Look, man, let's be reasonable. This doesn't have to ruin everything." Michael laughed, a bitter sound that startled them both. "Ruin everything? You did that when you walked into my house. But here's how this works." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You, Victor, will stay away from Emily. You won't fire her, she needs her job, but you'll keep your distance. And you, Emily, will agree to a divorce. No games, no lies. I've already sent copies of this to my lawyer. If either of you tries to twist this, or if you come after me, this footage goes public. Your career, Victor? Done. Your reputation, Emily? Gone." Victor's face flushed with anger, but fear flickered in his eyes. "You're bluffing," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Michael held up his phone, showing a draft email addressed to Victor's wife, the subject line reading, "The truth about your husband." "Test me," Michael said. "See how fast your perfect life falls apart." Emily reached for him, her voice breaking. "Michael, please, we can fix this. I'll do anything." But he stepped back, her touch burning like acid. "You already chose," he said. "Now you live with it." He turned off the audio, the silence heavy with their guilt. "You have 1 hour to get out of my house," he said, his eyes fixed on Victor. "And don't ever come back." Victor grabbed his jacket, muttering under his breath, but he didn't argue. Emily sat frozen, tears streaming down her face as Michael walked out. He didn't look back. Outside, he climbed onto his bike, the cool night air grounding him. He'd exposed them and it felt like a hollow victory. The pain was still there, raw and unrelenting, but he'd taken back control. Back at his office, Michael uploaded the final clips to his encrypted Hawkins cloud, then destroyed the memory cards from the cameras. No trace of his surveillance remained. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. Emily and Victor were cornered, but the real battle was just beginning. He thought of Lily, safe at college, unaware of the storm about to hit. Whatever came next, he'd protect her and himself from the fallout. The truth was out and there was no going back. The Seattle penthouse felt like a ghost of itself as Michael sat at the kitchen counter, a glass of whiskey untouched before him. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of the city. Emily hadn't come home since the confrontation 2 nights ago, texting only to say she was staying with her sister. Michael didn't reply. Her absence was both a relief and a wound, a reminder of the life they built and the lies that tore it apart. He stared at the wedding ring on his finger, its weight unbearable. With a slow, deliberate motion, he slid it off and set it on the counter, the clink echoing like a final goodbye. The next morning, Michael met with his lawyer, Sarah Coleman, in a sleek downtown office. He handed over a USB drive with the surveillance footage, carefully edited to protect Lily from the worst details. "I want a clean divorce," he said, his voice steady but hollow. "No drama, no lies. She keeps her job, but I want the house sold and assets split fairly." Sarah nodded, her eyes sharp but sympathetic. "You've got enough here to make it airtight," she said, tapping the drive. "She'd be foolish to fight this." Michael forced a grim smile. "She's already been foolish enough." By noon, he'd hired a realtor to list the penthouse. The memories it held, Lily's first steps, late-night talks with Emily, family dinners, were tainted now. He wanted a fresh start, somewhere free of her shadow. He called Lily, who was studying at the University of Washington, and kept his tone light. "Just checking in, kiddo. How's finals prep?" Lily's voice was bright, oblivious to the storm. "Killing it, Dad. You okay? You sound off." Michael swallowed hard. "Just work stress. Love you." He hung up before his voice betrayed him. Protecting Lily was his priority, even if it meant hiding the truth for now. Emily returned that evening, her eyes red and puffy, her usual poise replaced by fragility. She stood in the doorway, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Michael, we need to talk," she said, her voice trembling. He didn't look up from his laptop where he was drafting the divorce papers. "There's nothing to say, Emily. You made your choice." She stepped closer, tears spilling. "It wasn't love, Michael. It was a mistake. Victor was exciting, but it wasn't real. You're my home." Her words stung, but they couldn't reach him anymore. "Your home," he said, his voice cold. "You brought him here, into our bed. You gave him the words you swore to me. We're done." Emily sank into a chair, sobbing. "I know I hurt you. I hate myself for it. But we can fix this, therapy, time, anything. Please, for Lily." Michael's jaw tightened at the mention of their daughter. "Don't bring her into this. You don't get to use her to save yourself." He slid the divorce papers across the table. "Sign these. The house is going on the market. You'll have enough to start over, but you're not staying here." Emily stared at the papers, her hands shaking. "I can't lose you," she whispered. Michael stood, his voice final. "You already did." The news of the affair spread like wildfire, though Michael hadn't leaked a single clip. Victor's wife, Claire, a sharp-witted socialite, caught wind of the rumors, likely from a colleague who'd seen Victor and Emily too close at the office. Claire didn't confront Victor publicly. Instead, she whispered to the right people, and soon, hushed conversations followed Victor at board meetings. His reputation as a charismatic CEO took a hit, his charm no longer enough to mask the whispers of infidelity. Clients hesitated, deals stalled, and his carefully curated image began to crack. Emily faced her own fallout. At work, colleagues who once admired her now avoided her gaze. She wasn't fired. Michael's threat ensured Victor kept her employed, but her role as his executive assistant was over. She was reassigned to a mundane administrative desk, her days filled with filing and emails, her prestige gone. The office gossip was merciless, labeling her as Victor's fling. She ate lunch alone, her confidence eroded by the weight of her choices. At night, she stayed with her sister, avoiding calls from friends who'd heard the rumors. Her world was shrinking and she had no one to blame but herself. Michael, meanwhile, threw himself into work, coding late into the night to drown out the pain. He moved into a temporary apartment, the penthouse already under contract. Every box he packed felt like burying a piece of his past. He met with Sarah again, who confirmed Emily had signed the papers without a fight. "She's broken," Sarah said. "Keep saying she wants to fix things." Michael shook his head. Some things can't be fixed. But the truth was he wasn't whole either. Every quiet moment brought memories of Emily's laugh, her warmth, the life they'd planned. He hated how much he still loved her even now. Lily sensed something was wrong during their weekly call. "Dad, why's Mom acting so weird? She keeps crying when we talk." Michael's heart ached, but he couldn't tell her yet. "She's just stressed, kiddo. Work stuff. We'll figure it out." He hated lying, but he needed time to decide how to break the news. He'd protect Lily's image of her mother as long as he could, even if it meant carrying the burden alone. A week later, Michael received an unexpected call from Claire, Victor's wife. Her voice was cool, controlled. "I know what happened," she said. "I've seen enough to know Victor's a fool. But I'm not here to fight. I just want to know, did you send anything to the press?" Michael assured her he hadn't. "Good," she said. "I'll handle him my way." The call ended, but Michael sensed Claire's wrath would hit Victor harder than any public scandal. He almost pitied the man, almost. As the divorce proceedings began, Michael focused on rebuilding. He enrolled in a community coding workshop, mentoring young programmers to fill the void in his evenings. It wasn't much, but it gave him purpose. He started running again, the Seattle trails clearing his mind. Yet, every night, he'd see Emily's ring on his nightstand, a reminder of what was lost. The pain was still raw, but he was determined to move forward. Emily and Victor would live with their consequences, but Michael wouldn't let their betrayal define him. He had Lily, his work, and a future to reclaim, one step at a time. 2 years had passed since the night Michael's world unraveled. The Seattle penthouse was long sold, its proceeds split evenly in the divorce. Michael, now 47, had settled in a quiet Portland suburb, a modest home nestled among pine trees, far from the city's buzz. The air was cleaner here, the pace slower, and for the first time in years he felt a flicker of peace. But the scars of Emily's betrayal lingered, a dull ache that surfaced in quiet moments. He'd rebuilt his life, but some wounds never fully heal. Michael stood on his porch, sipping coffee as the morning mist rolled in. His new routine, running, coding, mentoring at a local tech nonprofit, gave him purpose. He'd started teaching coding to underprivileged teens, their enthusiasm a balm for his battered spirit. Yet every so often he'd catch himself staring at the old wedding photo he couldn't bear to throw away. Emily's smile, once his everything, now felt like a stranger's. He'd moved on, but the past clung like damp fog. Lily, now 19 and thriving at the University of Washington, was his anchor. They talked daily, her texts a mix of college anecdotes and silly memes. Michael had told her a sanitized version of the truth: "Your mom and I grew apart. It happens." He spared her the details of the affair, knowing it would shatter her. Lily sensed there was more but didn't press. "I just want you both to be happy," she'd said during a visit, hugging him tightly. Michael held her close, vowing to keep her world intact. Emily's life, meanwhile, had unraveled. At 42, she lived alone in a small Seattle apartment, her once vibrant spirit dimmed. Her administrative job at the startup was secure. Michael's threat ensured Victor didn't fire her, but it was a shadow of her former role. Colleagues whispered behind her back, her reputation tainted by rumors of the affair. She tried to rebuild, attending therapy and volunteering at a women's shelter, but guilt weighed heavy. She'd lost Michael, her daughter's trust, and the life she'd taken for granted. Late at night, she'd scroll through old photos, tears falling as she realized what her choices had cost. Victor's world fared no better. His wife, Claire, hadn't left him. She was too strategic for that, but she'd turned their marriage into a battlefield. She controlled their finances, dined with younger men in plain sight, and ensured Victor's every misstep was noted by their social circle. His career, once untouchable, faltered as clients distanced themselves, wary of the whispers. He avoided Emily at work, his resentment palpable. She was a reminder of his fall, a mistake he couldn't erase. His charm, once his greatest asset, now rang hollow. Michael had found a new rhythm in Portland. He'd met Rachel, a kind-hearted graphic designer, at a nonprofit event. She was 44, with a quick laugh and a love for hiking. Their relationship was steady, not the fiery passion he'd known with Emily, but a quiet comfort he hadn't thought possible. They'd cook together, trade stories about their day, and plan weekend getaways. Rachel knew about his past but never pried. "You're here now," she'd say, squeezing his hand. Michael was grateful, though a part of him wondered if he'd ever loved like he had before. One evening, Lily called, her voice tense. "Dad, Mom's not doing great. She's different. Quiet. I'm worried." Michael's chest tightened. He'd heard from mutual friends that Emily was struggling, skipping meals, withdrawing from life. "She's seeing a therapist, right?" he asked. Lily nodded over the video call. "Yeah, but it's not enough. She keeps saying she misses you." Michael sighed. He felt no satisfaction in Emily's pain, only a dull sorrow. "I'll talk to her," he said, though the words felt heavy. "But some things can't be undone." The next day, Michael called Emily. Her voice was fragile, barely recognizable. "Michael? Is everything okay?" she asked, hope flickering. He kept his tone neutral. "Lily's worried about you. You need to take care of yourself for her." Emily's breath hitched. "I know I ruined everything. I'm trying to be better, but it's hard without you." Michael closed his eyes, the old pain surfacing. "You have to do this for you, not me. We're done, Emily. But Lily needs her mom." She promised to try, and he hung up, feeling both relief and regret. He'd meant it, he wanted her to heal, but not for him. Weeks later, Lily texted him a photo of Emily at a shelter event, smiling faintly as she handed out supplies. "She's trying, Dad," the message read. Michael felt a weight lift, not forgiveness, but closure. Emily was finding her way, however slowly. He didn't hate her anymore, he pitied her. She'd lost more than he had, and that was punishment enough. Victor, too, faced his reckoning. A leaked email Claire's doing, no doubt, hinted at his indiscretions, costing him a major client. He stepped back from the CEO role, citing personal reasons, and faded from Seattle's elite circles. Michael heard through a colleague that Victor lived in a gilded cage, his wealth intact but his pride shattered. It wasn't Michael's doing, but it felt like justice. On a crisp Portland morning, Michael stood by the ocean, Rachel at his side. They watched the waves crash, her hand warm in his. "You ever think about going back?" she asked, her voice soft. Michael shook his head. "Seattle's the past. This is home now." He thought of Emily, of the ring he'd finally packed away, of Lily's bright future. The pain was still there, a faint echo, but it no longer defined him. He'd lost love, but he'd gained himself. And for the first time in years, that was enough.